Hey Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking. Put them trade tables and seat backs in full upright position as we take off into D&D realm of the forgotten kind as we look at D&D spoilers which have been leaked already. And we've got lots of cool stuff in this. But remember guys, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, help support the channel, put some comments down below, tell me what you think about my information, and let's have a conversation and help push this up through the YouTube algorithm by feeding that bad boy with all the things I just mentioned. Now, with that said, let's get started and take a look at it. Here it is, boys. We have our dungeons. That's right. We have 3 different dungeons. We have the Lost Mine of Pandelver, the Tomb of Annihilation, and Dungeon of the Mad Mage. You will notice that most of these are very similar to the actual expansions they were in. So for the mine, you can see here there's different rooms, just to kind of give you an idea. And what's going to happen is it appears that these are tokens. You can see a T here. Also, there's just 0, 21 of nothing. 20, 22, 21. So I think these are just tokens. I think they're probably going to be in the token spot, so they won't be worth a whole lot. Unless they make full versions of these inside the collector's editions. Those might be worth some money. And how it's basically going to work is, apparently, and we'll get into this later, there are cards that once you do something, you get to move into part of this dungeon. So let's say, for example, we're in the Lost Mine here. Once you meet the condition of a card, it will say move to the room of the dungeon. So you get to go to the first room. At the cave entrance, you get to scribe 1. Then, if you move rooms again, you get to pick the Goblin Lair, which you can create a 1/1 red goblin creature token, or go to the mine tunnels where you create a treasure token. And then depending on which side you go to, you have the option of 3 rooms next. You have the storeroom, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, the dark pool, where each opponent loses a life, you gain a life, and the fungi cavern, where target creature gets -4, -0 until the next turn. And then finally, it all empties out in the same room, which is the Temple of Dumathorin, where you just draw a card. Once you get here, you have completed the dungeon, and then some cards also get bonuses once you've completed a dungeon. These apparently do not go into your sideboard nor into your main deck. Since they are token cards, it's probably going to be something you just take with you, and you can just choose which dungeon you want to go into whenever you want to go into it, probably. I'm sure we'll get some more details on that later. But once you complete a dungeon, you always have that dungeon completed. Apparently, you can go into dungeons as many times as you like, but you never lose the status of a dungeon completion. So if your deck needs you to complete a dungeon, for example, once you do it once, you don't have to do it again. So over here on the Tomb of Annihilation, if you come in here, first room, each player loses a life. Next, you get to pick between the Veils of Fear or the Oubliette, where the Veils of Fear, each player loses 2 life unless they discard a card. Then you go to the Sandfell Cave, where each player loses 2 life unless they sacrifice an artifact, a creature, or a land. While if you go into Oubliette, you get basically both these. You discard a card, sacrifice an artifact, a creature, and a land without the option to pay life. And then finally at the bottom, you get the Cradle of the Death God, which is where you create the Atropol, which is a legendary 4/4 black god horror creature token with Death Touch. Very interesting. But you can do this in a matter of 3. So maybe this is part of a strategy of bam, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, give me a 4/4, wreck your day. I could see that being a real good strategy. This could be a good strategy over here for token style quick aggro decks. And then over here for the decks that might be a little bit longer, you have the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, which if you guys don't know, is the Underdark. Or what you would also call, oh dang it, it's the dungeon underneath Waterdeep. I'm having a brain fart. Anyway, I'm sure I'll think of it later. Because just like in that, you go to the Yawning Portal, which is the tavern. You gain 1 life. The Yawning Portal has a way to put you down into the dungeon, which is dungeon level 1, where you scry 1. Then you get to pick the Goblin Bazaar, where you create treasure token, or Twisted Caverns, where creatures can't attack until your next turn. Then you end up in the Lost Level period, where you get to scry 2. Then you get to pick again. Runestone Caverns, exile top 2 cards of your library, play them this turn. You may play them this turn, seems pretty good. And then Muriel's Graveyard, where you create 2 1/1 black skeleton creature tokens. Then you go to the Deep Mines, where you get to scry 3. And then finally, the Mad Wizard's Lair, where you get to draw 3 cards, reveal them, and you may cast one of them without paying its mana cost. That completes the dungeon. It is free casting, but considering you got to go through like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times to get this to go off, you've probably already won the game. Given what it's going to take to actually progress through these different dungeon layers. So that's just something to think about. I can see where all these could be deck strategies, and I'm sure what we look into this more, we'll see how these are played around certain deck strategies that's actually in the set. They may not be broken, only because this one set will be the only set that can use these, so you really have to use a deck that's made for something like this to actually get you through these. So it'll be real interesting to see if they bring these back later, or make other cards that help you advance through the dungeon. Very interesting. So, with that said, let's move on to the actual cards. First off, though, I've got to say, I covered it before about a card land like this. This is an Evolving Wilds, obviously, but once again, this is going to be an Evolving Wilds that I want to collect, even though it's an Evolving Wilds, just a basic Evolving Wilds. This picture art is just phenomenal, and I made another video about this already, about how I feel about this. I rattled on for about 10 minutes, not only about how good the card was, but just about how nostalgic this made me feel. And I won't get into it on here to bore you guys, because we got a little bit to cover. I don't want to make it too long on you. Because I also got some other Modern Horizon 2 boxes to open still. Got to keep that rolling. But yeah, I love this card. Lord in heaven, thank you, Jesus. Moving on. So here's an example of a card that helps you progress through a dungeon. Or a card that gets something from progression through a dungeon. So it's a Gloomstalker. It's a white and 2 colorless for a Dwarf Ranger. It's only a 2/3, but as long as you've completed a dungeon, he has double strike. That's very interesting. So this is an example of something you can get for completing a dungeon. As we look through the next card. So this is a Shortcut Seeker. It's a blue and 3 for a 2/5. It says whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you get to venture into the dungeon. This, for example, is entering the first room or advancing to the next room, just like I talked about. So there's cards like this that maybe damage a player or maybe even something else that help you advance through those dungeons. And that's going to be really cool, and that's how this works. So we have another card here. Next we have, Gloomstalker again, another little fella. He's got double strike, get it? Anyway, sorry, bad joke, couldn't help myself. This is the Closeter Gargoyle. It's 1 white and 2 colorless. It's an 0/4. When he enters the battlefield, you get to venture through the dungeon. So just by casting this card, or bringing it back from the graveyard, blinking it, whatever, it enters the battlefield, you get to advance through the dungeon. When you complete a dungeon, he is +3/+0 in flying. So he's a 3/4 flyer for 3. Not the best in the world, but just entering and making the dungeon progress may be good enough to push this card over the top. But if this is what the uncommons do, man, I can't wait to see what some of the rares do with it. So, with that said, we'll move on again. We have the Dungeon Crawler here for 1 black. It's a 2/1, enters tapped. Whenever you complete a dungeon, if it's in your graveyard, you can put it back in your hand, almost like a grave crawler. Dun dun dun. But this is a lot less easy to put in your hand, just because you have to complete a dungeon to put it back in your hand. But still, very cool concept. Like it a lot. Next, moving on, we have our first Planeswalker. We have Eliwick Tumblestrum. So she is a 4-cost, 4 loyalty Planeswalker. When she comes in, her +1, I know it's really hard to read because this picture's blurry, my bad, guys. The +1 actually ventures you into the dungeon, or through it, right? So here's a Planeswalker that can auto run you through the dungeon if it stays alive. Her other abilities is to look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them, put it into your hand. If it's legendary, you gain 3 life and put the rest of the cards in the bottom of your library in a random order. So not bad for a -2, very Planeswalker-esque for green here on your -2. Your -7, you get an emblem with creatures you control have trample and haste, and get +2/+2 for each differently named dungeon you've completed. So it could be up to 6/6, but often really 2/2 trample and haste is probably good enough. But this could be a good reason to run that short dungeon, right? So you can get some minuses, running through the dungeon real quick. Really interesting planeswalker, really interesting mechanics. Doesn't seem too broken at all, unless the dungeons end up being broken. But even if the dungeons are really good, I don't see it being that good right now anyway, in modern or anything. So once she rotates out, she's probably gonna be worth a whole lot. Unless she becomes a big commander staple with the whole dungeon run thing, that might be a thing. So something to look out for. So next we'll move on. Here we have Nadar, the selfless paladin. This one is a white and 2 colorless rare for a 3/3 vigilance. Whenever the selfless paladin enters the battlefield or attacks, you venture in the dungeon. Other creatures you control get +1/+1 as long as you've completed the dungeon. So here's a multi-purpose creature, for example. When you cast him, you advance the dungeon. When he attacks, he advances the dungeon. And he's 3/3 for 3, so he's on a good rate. He has vigilance even, so he doesn't tap to attack. And when you complete a dungeon, other creatures you control get +1/+1. Now he doesn't, but other creatures will. And this guy is legendary. And he's a dragon knight, so pretty cool. I do like it. Nice flavor. Um, doesn't seem too overpowered. Seems to work good with the dungeons. So really got to hand it to him. This looks like a pretty good mechanic as long as it's not too busted from other cards that we get. So as of right now, I'm excited. I think I'm gonna like to play these dungeons. I'm gonna like this whole adventure mechanic. So let's just really see how this goes. And how far Wizards takes it, right? You never know. So tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. Feel free to hit me up. Remember, like, subscribe. Let's run this thing up so everybody gets a chance to look at it. And tell me what you think about the new dungeon mechanic, how you advance it, and the creatures and what they look like so far. So, with all that said, guys, I appreciate your time. And for those of you who stuck around, I got a special video coming up when I do my EV video, because guess what? I got some more boxes in to open. Dun, dun, dun. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you next time. This is your captain speaking. Ciao, ciao.